Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics Known Classics. This is episode number 34, 69, and Doubleshot number 3363. Yeah, I did check basically how long it's been since I last did one of these. It's been like almost 2 weeks since I last did Comic Corner. Yeah, I just have not had time to do this stuff, sadly. But I do have a couple trades here ready to go, so let's see where we go. First we have is U.S. Agent, The Good Fight. Yep. One out of two trades for U.S. Agent. Yes, one of two. The other being the Jebba K Minis trade. There's actually one feature for U.S. Agent not in this trade. He had a 4-part storyline in the pages of Avengers, I think it was Avengers Spotlight. Which for some weird reason, I think there was that, and I think there was like an issue 2 of Markham Presents that are not in this book for some reason. Not really sure why. So, okay, your writers here are the late Mark Greenwald, Jerry Ordway, and Jim Nurbach. Jerry also has some co-writing here. With Tom Morgan, the late Mark Bright, I think he passed away just last year, I think it was M.C. Wayman, Mark Bagley, and Tom Tooney. M.C. Wayman does the front cover, back covers Mike Zeck and Bob McLean. So, this book collects. It collects Captain America 333. The first and second volumes for U.S. Agent. Like, first volume was 4 issues, second one was 3. First one was released in 1983, second was released in 2001. A story from Avengers West Coast issue 100. And a Becca feature that lasted from Captain America 358, 362, and 380 to 382. You're like, wow. Now, you're probably asking, Nick, why does this trade exist? Well, I'm guessing the reason why Marvel did this because of John Walker's appearance on Falcon and Winter Soldier. Anybody thinking, is that the reason why? Yeah, a lot of the time, Marvel, when they do these trades, usually they do it as a promotional tie-in. But with DC, the same thing too. To something that they're putting out at the moment. Like, here's a good example. Peacemaker had his first ever trade to collect his old Charlton stuff and his miniseries in the 80s. That was finally collected in a DC Finest book. If it had been for the Peacemaker TV show, that trade would not exist. This trade is kind of existing for the same reason. They also did the same thing with Scott Lang Ant-Man, where they put that trade out because of the Ant movie. I'm like, okay. What about the original Scarlet Witch trade? The one that is for first line. Probably because parents Avengers. Same thing when they collect the trade when they collect her brother's solo title, which also crosses over with Heroes for Hire, which Marvel is not fully collected that book yet. And you're probably thinking, okay, so has more than any other books basically for characters that normally would not get a book like that? Not a lot per se. Like, here's a good example for you. The character Speedball has a short-lived ongoing. Last 22 issues, has debuted in Amazing Spider-Man Annual. I think he has some appearances in Markham Presents. I think that was it. But if you're curious, is there a trade for him? Sadly, no, but his debut is collected. But his solo book? Nope. Not really. I believe Squirrel Girl got one too. You're probably thinking, how? Well, when they did one for Squirrel Girl, it was because they were teasing her appearing in a New Warriors TV show. Yep. So, the answer to the obvious question, what the heck happens in these books here? So, they first start with Captain America 333. This is the issue where John Walker, who had previously known as Super Patriot, had become Captain America. This is part of the storyline known as The Captain. Lasted from issue 325, wrapped up with issue 350, where after John Walker's apparent death, Steve Rogers took up the mantle of Captain America once again. And U.S. Agent's costume was previously Steve Rogers' costume when he was simply known as the Captain. They basically swapped costumes. And Steve, for the most part, has been Captain America from that point forward, with the exception of a few brief periods when he wasn't. But a lot of times it was Steve Rogers. So they basically, now, in story, the reason why that now, he had resigned at being Captain America, purely because basically he did not agree with the stuff that the Commission of Superhero Activities wanted to do with him. So he didn't agree, so he just resigned, became the captain. And then even when he turned himself in for stuff he did, he demanded a lawyer, as any legal U.S. citizen would, and they wouldn't give it to him. That's the whole thing with this issue here. It's like, Sue Patriot, he's chosen Captain America. That's simply the whole purpose of this issue being here, is basically John Walker, he becomes Captain America, he dishes the Sue Patriot outfit, and becomes Captain America first time. They don't call it, it's not the entire story, but then they reference what happened to the rest, and then in the aftermath of that, he becomes U.S. Agent, and then starts up a storyline known as Night of the Scourge. I believe this starts with issue Captain America 358, and it's a feature where you have basically the Scourge is killing random people. Now the Scourge, the purpose of this character was basically he's kind of in a way an editorial demanded character. From what I read about him, he's made occasional appearances in present day, but hasn't appeared in several years. Basically, he was there to get rid of characters that were not that popular. Not really. And the thing is, Scourge won't discriminate, because one of his victims was a woman. Yes, he killed the original Titania, when she was resurrected in 2009. I think it was. She was brought back, and she became Lavicious, and she got the same powers as Spider-Woman, a pheromone power to get men to fall in love with her. And here's the weird thing about it when it comes to her. When she was brought back, since she's been revived, she's had no interaction with her successor as Titania. Nope. None. I mean, she's been back now. Not been killed off again, sadly. A lot of people brought back by the Hood during the Punisher storyline. A lot of them has died, but Lavicious, nope. Not really. She's still alive. And she has zero interaction with Titania. The current one. The one who's married to Absorb Man. The one who's more popular than she is. If I remember correctly, I believe she first popped pages of The Thing. She was part of the Unlimited Class Federation, a wrestling organization that basically The Thing was part of, and she was part of a group known as the Grapplers, where they were trying to hold up the company's money well, thing is, they accused the company of not paying them enough. It was more of an equal rights thing, and they want equal pay as the men. The organization keeps saying no, and they kept this on it. Eventually, she got killed in the most weirdest way possible. So the Scourge disguised himself as some random person, that was a guy or woman, and he shoots basically the original Titania in the shower. Yes, seriously. Marvel Comics allowed this to happen. A shooting in a shower. Well, not a private home shower. Oh, no. A public shower at almost like a gym. And here's something interesting, though. There were a couple targets on the Scourge's list that were declared missed. One of them was the original Kevin Hunter. And the other one was Flash Thompson. You're probably asking, why would Scourge go after Flash Thompson? The reason is because at the time he was accused of being the Hobgoblin. He later got cleared. And the whole thing with the storyline is, now Scourge is more associated with Captain America stuff, but here's the weird thing about Scourge in the world. He debuted in Iron Man. You're like, really? Yes. As a matter of fact, this is a famous issue of Captain America. Issue 319. where we have all these C-list villains gathered in the one of the borrower's own name, and then the Scourge just massacres all of them. I think there was like about 20 villains. One of them was a Submariner villain. Like, some of them didn't really appear very much prior to that. I think they were like once or twice, and they got killed off. They just were popular, so they had to kill them off. So the whole thing with the storyline is that U.S. agent who is now, he is actually with the Avengers at this point. Yes. So the whole idea of this backup feature is to give him basically a possible leeway to have an actual spin-off. He did have a spin-off, a miniseries, also by Greenwald as well. And basically throughout this, now the Scourge storyline, you have him taking on the Scourge in the world. And this is how he normally dressed. Yes. White mask, black trench coat, sometimes with white. He was like shooting people, and a lot of this is U.S. agent going after him. Oh, fun fact! Did you know that the original Scourge actually was killed by another Scourge? You're like, really? Yeah. The reason was because he was about to unveil who was behind the whole Scourge, and then another Scourge basically killed him. His catchphrase is, "Justice is served." From what I read, it was later revealed that the original Angel, the Golden Age Angel superhero, he was actually responsible for this in story. Behind the scenes, I'm not sure whose idea it was. I can't ask Jim Shooter about it because he's passed away. The only person I probably could ask about it if I see him again is Ralph Macchio. And also, at one point here, you have John Walker being mad at his general for basically manipulating memory by the parents being alive. Later on, by the way, the Scourge appearance in this book is actually John Walker's brother. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that Scourge wrapped up, and then basically this is the very next storyline from 380 to 382. It's all about John Walker. And he's also here with his old psychic Battlestar. And this later led to his very first limited series, also by Mark Greenwald, which makes sense. And this is the one that found out, this is in this particular series, this Scourge is actually John Walker's brother. Yes. Who, we see him basically, we see one Scourge where he goes to this guy's apartment. It's run down, and basically the Scourge is tasked with killing this guy. And he does know, he's like, maybe, pull that trigger, and there'll be no one to take care of the children. They're yours. My sisters, I help out when she's at work. Her husband had a year in. Yeah, apparently he was a mass matador. Yeah, that is actually an old Daredevil villain, believe it or not. And he was going to kill him, but he decides to let him live. Yeah, and the thing is, Eduardo has heard of him in prison. So he's just taking care of her sister's kids, and then the Scourge just allows him to live. Yep. And then basically, the Scourge is basically contacted by, I'm assuming his handler. Like, how did I... And then he shoots out his own communication thing. Then U.S. agent goes after them. Yeah, and then of course, basically, like, yeah, U.S. agent in his room, and of course, basically, you have a giant flag in his wall because he loves his country. And then he goes trying to go to bed. There's a blow up doll in his bed, and he assumes Hawkeye. Yeah, probably his joke. So, little fun fact, did you know that John Walker and Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, actually had a fight on a beach because Hawkeye couldn't stand his attitude. So they had a fight on a beach. They weren't damaging anything. They were basically not around in public. It was basically at the beach that was near the Avengers compound. I got handed to the writer of the issue. That was a pretty smart idea. No onlookers, just two guys squaring off man to man. And then US Agent pops up at this bar. And the bouncer's like, "Whoa, sturdy. Oh, that's sturdy. This ain't no cops, buddy. Look who's talking." And then he proceeds to knock the guy out. He goes in. A woman hits on him. And he finds his contact at this bar where he says, "Sebushin makes good sausages. U.S. Agent." Yeah. Made his contact. And he basically, a lot of time, he fights. Now, of course, he does find out that this particular Scourge actually might be his brother. But by the end of this, his brother disappears. The Scourge appears in this miniseries only appears here. Now, having Scourge appear in the U.S. Agent miniseries kind of makes sense because it was part of U.S. Agent's first backup feature, so why not? You could say this is sort of a spiritual sequel to that storyline. Yes. I got handed this book. It was really good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, and they did wrap this up a nice little bow. I think, okay. And then we have the story from Avengers West Coast 100, which is a U.S. Agent story. Well, this is done by Jim Narbuck with Tim turning the art. Oh my gosh. Because it's 90s. Let's have John Walker look like this. Yeah. So yeah, so it was just an okay U.S. Agent. And then move on to the U.S. Agent miniseries of 2001. I think this one came out either before or after Maximum. I think it was Maximum Security. Well, John Walker does his best Judge Dredd impersonation. I have heard that they say, "Oh, this is a SWAT look." No, I look at this outfit. That's Judge Dredd. Yeah. Marvel can say it's SWAT look for him. No, it's freaking Judge Dredd. So you have him working with this woman here. Then he fights some Hydra agents. He's working on S.H.I.E.L.D. And of course, basically, then we have W.W. Dugan and U.S. Agents have a dick measuring contest. you look at its work intelligence vacuum, the Alpha and yours. His machete was massacred. Furthermore, I am authorized by the United Nations to go anywhere on the planet to do my job. Don't be smug with me, soldier, or I'll get a chip off your shoulder. I don't know who you were selling to. It's like, it's not a drug. You busted in machete. Won't give up. You are Val Cooper. He's a mercenary. Sink to the grave. I'm afraid that's what he did. She got shut up in Crossfire. Don't look at me like a disapproving father. My boss gave me a job. I do bring that they bring machete in, and I'll do that. In a body bag? So then the script goes out the window. You know that. Go mop up Hydra, I won't mind. And the whole thing of this book is about a bug. Yes, a freaking bug. And then we have this woman named Varys who's kind of into U.S. agents. Figured together, it's like, yeah, and of course he got his mask off, then she proceeds to make out with him. Of course he likes it. I'm like, what guy wouldn't? She's a hot lady. Yeah, and this series is only 3 issues, which is kind of surprising. I kind of get the reason why Marvel didn't want to put this as its own separate trade, because it's only 3 issues. It's probably not a lot here to put in trade. Let's put some more one-shot here with him. So then issue 2 goes on the water, fights underwater battle here. He also runs into frickin' Submariners. Like, oh, first issue runs into Dogen, now runs into Submariner. Interesting. Yes. Now, Submariner, yeah, I bet. And of course, yeah. Of course, he's mad at the Avengers. So he was Avenger. And then, of course, then Callie like kisses him and then puts a bug in. Like, what's your game? Yep. Then his contact and apparently doesn't feel the fact this bug is in his head. Yeah, then she's just put into a suspicious looking vehicle. No, send him out. I'm taking this to Seattle. And of course, basically, this is agreement. Then Captain America shows up. Yep, and they meet with this. They just steals a helicopter. Here are the clearance. Here, get my free card, gents. I'm sorry, Agent. Step aside, fellows. Let this man pass. First they see powers. Yeah, he runs into the power broker. Yep, the power broker. Like, okay. And then, of course, then he proceeds to use his little electric baton on a woman who likes him. Yeah. And he fights through. It's all about the Senator bill. Hold on, folks. Captain America. Back up, Cap. I know what I'm doing. Yep. Agent Bear's like, John, stand down. You're not yourself. And then Cap fights John Walker. And really thought so. I was like, no. Can't give up. Yeah, then Valerie basically like, and then some power brokers will control this bug, like living off him. Yeah, then of course they fry the bug. Yep, and then fights people being manipulated. And then, of course, Val's is free. So, we don't. What? Nice, Jackson. And then, of course, takes the bug in his back, like, now behave. I'll be back. Do it. Put it on her neck. I command you. It's like, nope. Budges him. Takes the thing off his back. And then, of course, basically the bug is taken care of. Pretty easily. These are aliens. Nope. I think your genetics cooked them up. Alien up on the console. Something went bad. The bubble disappeared. Wrong hands. Yeah, of course, shakes his hand. And of course, still a jerk. Then he proceeds to burn a pitcher and puts in the sink. And he calls someplace, and that's it. That's book in a nutshell. Pretty good. I actually enjoyed that. It was actually a really good book overall. I give the book roughly 8, 9 out of 10. Next up we have is the Wastelanders. Yes, where each of these characters get a focused story. Who's the cover here? Oh, by Logan himself, which for his is like right after the events of his miniseries. Actually, his miniseries, his storyline from Wolverine. Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Star-Lord. Yes. Now, Stephen Knight does the Wolverine one-shot with Aaron Mustafa on the artwork. Rich Judik does the Star-Lord artwork one-shot with Brent Peoples. Black Widow, Stephen Knight. Ours, Will B. Ethan Sachs as Hawkeye, which that is interesting that he would write that because he did do the Hawkeye book. Yeah, Old Man Hawkeye, he wrote that one. I think he also Old Man Star-Lord as well. And Torrin Greyback. Yes, I actually talked to Teeny Howard about her a couple days ago. She's awesome. Now, Ethan Sachs was there, but I didn't have anything from him signed, sadly. So, I didn't get him to stop by his table. So, Wolverine's one shot. This is set not long after the events of giant-sized Old Man Logan, where Logan killed the Hulk, and then somehow Hulk is he's of course here with he's here with Banner Jr., who is Bruce Banner's son, which if you're curious, who is the mom? She-Hulk. Mark Millar. He wrote that story. He just goes out, kills some bikers, which Hulk and then Banner starts eating them for some reason, because he does. And then they run into this Hulkbuster armor, which is commanded by Hulk himself. Yes, Hulk is piloting a Hulkbuster armor, except but just his head, because Hulk got beheaded. So then eventually this Hulk is killed, and he's buried alive, and then Banner goes off with Logan. Then we have the Hawkeye one, which is this one in particular. This one shot, I think, is set just prior to the Old Man Logan, the Old Man Hawkeye limited series. So you can think of this book as sort of a prologue, because at the end of Old Man Hawkeye, he became blind because his sight was going. But it started to go halfway through the series, and by the end of it, he's blind because in the Old Man Logan storyline, he's blind. So because he can see here, his eyesight's perfectly fine. So I'm guessing it's set before the start of issue 1. So this is more like a prologue. And of course, he's given a mission by Daredevil to give flowers to Elektra to remember their anniversary for some reason. Yes, old lady Elektra. Which, yeah, that's what she looks like when she was older. Which, I gotta say, with the exception of the gray hair, she looks too bad for a woman probably a bit older. I guess she's probably like 65-ish, maybe. And then Wastelanders Star-Lord. Yes. Now the Old Man Star-Lord book, that was also Ethan Stacks. That was simply put basically to explain the cosmic side. So this, they say this one takes place after the events of Old Man Quill. This is, you see him where you see like a ghost of Kitty Pryde who's been long dead. And the thing is, you probably take a look at this. She has got a claw mark on her side. Yeah, that is so. Basically, so you are thinking, why is Kitty Pryde here at the Xavier? Why does she have a claw mark on her? The explanation for this is that Logan killed the X-Men. You're thinking, why? Because he was manipulated to it by Mysterio. And he didn't realize he was killing the X-Men until he was about to kill Jubilee. I guess, and for some reason, Kitty Pryde is wearing her outfit that she wore in the Astonishing X-Men book. And we see Cyclops here. It's all about ghosts of like all the dead X-Men. Because they're all dead here. And we have some dead Avengers, including Nova, Iron Man, and Thing and Cap. Then we have Peter Quill, where he's visiting the abandoned Xavier, who goes inside his Cerebro, where it's not actually active. And then of course is like deactivated, and he gets a new ship, which apparently is based upon the Milano from the movies. And he's here with Vision, who is damaged. And then of course we show off the ship. He calls the Pride. This is based upon the Milano from the movies. Then we have Doctor Doom, which it says takes place prior to Old Man Quill and Avengers of the Wasteland, which I think that's the most furthest in the timeline that takes place. So this is Doctor Doom, where he's like kind of arriving home and discovers that there is a lady here who turns to be Agatha Harkness. Yes, Agatha Harkness. And have to go to a version of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and discovers that after dealing with Mephisto, as he's a woman, he's her Sophia. And it turns out his kingdom is being run by Baron Mordo, which he works for Red Skull. You're probably thinking, why does he work with Red Skull for? What's going on there? So they bring up here that a lot of heroes are gone because there was a villain uprising that killed a lot of they basically all the villains gathered together and they killed a lot of the heroes. So Red Skull, because a lot of the heroes were dead, the heroes that took over the country, and Red Skull took over the White House. And get this, so in the original Old Man Logan story, Old Man Logan fought Red Skull, and he killed him. And Red Skull was wearing Iron Man armor in the book. And later on, he fought Bullseye. Yes. And we see throughout this, basically, we have eventually Dr. M kills Mordo. You might think of some characters dying here, like, well, that explains why they're not in Old Man Logan, that main book. You could say yes. Now in the Black Widow, where this book itself is set in the same route. This is basically, now this was a character that did pop up in Old Man Hawkeye. We have it where we have a kingdom for the Lizard. Yes. Where Natasha's older. They do flashbacks with Thunderbolts basically became evil and they stabbed her. So this is a flashback that happened in Old Man Hawkeye. So this is sort of a spin-off of that. And it's a story for her, and of course she ends up sleeping with an AIM agent. Yes, an AIM agent. which of course the AIM agent is eaten by the lizard, and then the guy gets killed by Black Widow. And I think this Black Widow is supposed to be not Natasha. I think it's implied this one is Yelena. Yes. But this book was really good. Really good. And this book is the most recent thing done with the Omen Logan stuff. So, have I reviewed everything related to Omen Logan? No. I have reviewed Omen Logan, the original storyline, the Omen Logan miniseries, the ongoing, which is really good, Demon Logan, I've reviewed all that. I have reviewed Old Man Hawkeye, Avengers Wastelanders. The only thing I have not reviewed is Old Man Quill. That's the only book I have not technically reviewed yet. But with this book here, I reviewed almost the entire stuff here. Now, what was the reason for these books' existence? My guess is to give additional stories for the Old Man Logan stuff, because I didn't, because here's my personal theory on why these books existed. I think Marvel just, despite the fact that the only reason why they did Old Man Quill, because Old Man Hawkeye did probably really, really well in the sales. So they did Old Man Quill, but my guess is Quill didn't do too well in the sales, but like probably didn't sell as much as they thought it would. And of course, it did the Avengers Wasteland miniseries. And then we had this book here, because I'm sure some people really want to continue that timeline. But my guess, some higher ups were just not interested at all. So they're like, okay, we're not doing it. We're not doing limited series. We're not doing ongoing. We're gonna do one shots. And like, that's it. Yeah, that's just my personal theory on the matter. So that's the only thing I can think of. Ethan Stacks is a fantastic writer. I mean, that's not the first book I reviewed from him. Of course, I have reviewed Old Man Hawkeye, which is awesome. And he also did the really good Bounty Hunters book for the Star Wars line, which is amazing. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up is Free Reign. Okay, next video. Bye.